Everyone seems to have an opinion these days. Most people have a lot of them, loud ones, bold ones. They're shared on social media like unquestionable truth. But the sad reality is that having an opinion on everything is not a sign of intelligence. It's a blind spot in your thinking. We've confused being opinionated with being informed. We've confused confidence with truth. I see a troubling phenomenon of people making bold claims about science, history, ethics, medicine, politics, without the faintest clue about the actual state of these fields. They don't know what's accepted, what's debated, or what's been debunked, but they speak with confidence of a tenured expert, and that is a problem. Now, ignorance isn't the problem. We all fall into this sometimes, thinking we know more than we do. So the problem isn't not knowing. It's not knowing that you don't know, yet still thinking you're qualified to lecture others. Worse, we live in a world that rewards this behavior. We praise people who speak fast, loud, and often, but rarely ask whether they've earned the right to speak on the topic at all. Yes, technology has advanced. We've got AI, instant access to information, and a million podcasts claiming to explain everything. But despite all of that, most of us still interpret the world using the same broken mental machinery that's plagued humans for thousands of years. Here's what I see are some of the worst offenders today. Probably number one would be cognitive ease. We prefer simple stories over complex truth. I like what H.L. Mencken said, that for every complex problem, there's an answer that is clear, simple, and wrong. Number two offender, tribal loyalty, where we side with our group, even when the facts say otherwise. Number three would be cognitive bias, where we mainly seek out and believe information that supports our pre-existing views. Number four, pattern seeking, where we see patterns even when the patterns aren't real. This is one of the foundational errors that fuels conspiracy theories. And number five would be authority bias, when we trust confident speakers, perhaps people in authority, even when they have absolutely no training or expertise in the subject they're discussing. Now, none of us are immune to these cognitive biases, but being aware of them, that's the first step. Hey, there's no shame in not knowing, but there's great danger in not knowing that you don't know. I'll say that again. Wisdom starts with this. You know enough to realize you don't know enough. And that's not a weakness. It's a sign of intellectual maturity. Socrates said, "I know that I know nothing." He wasn't being humble for the sake of appearance. He was pointing to a deep truth. He understood that knowledge is complex and that truth requires humility. Isaac Newton expressed a similar idea. Compare that to the internet today, where people are more concerned about sounding right than actually being right. Who should we trust more? Someone who knows their limits, or someone who doesn't think they have any limits? If you place your trust in someone who thinks they're an authority on a topic, and they have no training, no education, no experience in that field, or worse yet, they might feel they're an authority on every topic, I'm telling you, that is a huge red flag, because no one is an expert on everything. And if they act like they are, it reveals a blind spot in their thinking, or worse, a resistance to self-awareness. So here's my challenge to you. Before you post that comment, before you debate that topic, Ask yourself honestly, do I really know what in the world am I talking about? Have I studied this deeply? Do I understand the strongest opposing arguments, the nuance, the complexity of it? If the answer is no, maybe the smartest thing you can say is, I believe that's a complex topic, and honestly, I don't know enough about it to offer an informed opinion. And then move on. Let's make it normal again to say, I don't know enough about that. So the next time you come across what is almost certainly a intricate, deep topic, climate change, vaccines, international economics, the ethics of AI, pause. Ask yourself, who's actually spent their life studying this topic? Who understands the depth, the data, the nuance? And say this not with shame, but with strength. All defer to those who've spent their lives understanding this. And even better than deferring to someone who's become an expert through prolonged study and practice is a whole group of experts who've done that, who've all arrived at basically the same conclusions. This doesn't mean they're always right, but over time, this posture, humble, careful, curious, deferring to trained experts, gives you a much higher probability of being right. It's really the smart play. So now you might be thinking, yeah, how do I know you know what you're talking about when you say this? And that's a good question. Sounds like you were paying attention. Leave me a comment and let me know if you think these are valid points I'm making. And why do you think that? For more thoughtful and charitable content, hit subscribe and keep asking good questions.